The big news over the weekend, at least as far as I can see from China, and that is that there are no longer term limits. The Constitution's been amended. President Xi will stay there. From your understanding of China and U.S.-China relations, how does that change or not change U.S. with China going forward?
Well, I don't think it really affects U.S.-China policy and certainly U.S.-China relations. But it really depends on what issues you care about most. If you care about trade, opening up the Chinese economy to the West, then his unlimited term will mean greater continuity and more of the same. If you're concerned about the military buildup of China in the South China Sea and the Sea of Japan, or if you're concerned about human rights and democracy and transparency, then you ought to be concerned because he has imposed a more authoritarian regime, certainly a more militaristic regime, and if you're concerned about those things, then his unlimited term would be troublesome.
So let's take it just in that order. That's very helpful. Number one, trade. U.S.-China trade. Obviously very high up in the list of things being covered in the news these days. We have the Section 301 intellectual property proceeding. We also had reports over the weekend that maybe what the United States has said to China is, we need $100 billion reduction in the trade deficit. You figure out how to do it. We just need it done. Is that a constructive way to open up the markets?
Well, not really, because in so many ways we need the help of all of our allies throughout the world to really impress upon China that it needs to open up its markets to foreign investment, to foreign competition. So many parts of the Chinese economy are closed off to American companies and foreign companies. At the same time, China will say, well, we want to buy more stuff from America, but you actually limit what we can buy. So we really need really high-level talks to really open up the Chinese market and to address some of these issues that they have in terms of what they want to buy from America.
What was really interesting this morning, I had a chat with an analyst from First Eagle Investment Management, and talking about geopolitical risks, he didn't care about Brexit or anything else. He just talked about Xi Jinping abolishing term limits. Take a listen first.
The assumption with respect to China, if we went back in time 10 or 15 years ago, is that economic development in China would lead to a convergence of political norms between China and the West. I think what we're seeing is a divergence.
Will the accumulation of power around Xi Jinping be a positive or a negative for reform?
Well, I really think that in some ways it can help accelerate the reform efforts. Those who oppose his policies of reducing the role or the size and the inefficiency of government-owned companies will see that President Xi will move hard and in a steadfast manner in terms of reforming the Chinese economy. But you're also going to see him in power much, much longer. And he really has huge ambitions in terms of China's role in the world and developing political and strategic connections with other countries. Their multi-trillion-dollar One Belt, One Road initiative in providing assistance and aid and loans, infrastructure development to other countries in Southeast Asia, in Africa, in Eastern Europe, will curry political connections and perhaps closer ties between many other countries and China and take them away from the influence of America. That is also should be of worry to America.